100%. Obviously, it's a big platform to showcase my skills, but like I said time and time again, it means nothing if I don't perform. So all what matters under the bright light.
It was a great press, poking each other, but not too far. But once you get physical and you touch a man's face.
But like I say, I don't see there's any harm in it. It doesn't bring the sport into disrepute in any way. This is the show business world that we live in. There's the fight game and then there's the fight business. And from a business perspective, that's probably just sold another 1 million tickets worldwide to people to watch this fight. Because
Daniel Dubois' slap on Moses Itauma during their first fiery press conference was more than a reckless outburst. It told its own story. What was supposed to be a standard face-to-face to build hype spiraled into a moment that exposed character, composure, and the balance of mental power between the two fighters. Instead of looking like
the titles, 3 European medals, gold medals, and a world title. And as a professional, I'm looking to replicate that and doing it quicker than the youngest heavyweight.
Like the dominant force, Dubois came across as desperate. His frustration boiled over under the camera's glare, and what should have been a showcase of control turned into a public unraveling. The truth is, the press conference was never about physical intimidation. It was about mental warfare. And in that battle, Itauma showed exactly...
I thought, why is that just slid in the radar? Why does nobody make a big deal of that?
It was a class touch,
That's
man.
a massive touch.
Yeah.
That's
exactly why so many are already calling him the future of heavyweight boxing. Just 20 years old, Itauma handled the storm with the calm poise of a seasoned champion. While Dubois lashed out, Itauma barely flinched. He didn't let the slap shake him, and in doing so, he...
Surprised.
Does that cross the line, do you think?
Yeah, it does. Listen, the presser was good. It was a great presser, back and forth, poking each other, but not too far. But once you get physical,
proved who really owns the advantage when the pressure is at its highest. Former cruiserweight champion Johnny Nelson was one of the first to weigh in, and he didn't mince words. To him, Dubois' slap wasn't just a heat-of-the-moment reaction, it was a stain on the sport. Nelson dismissed it as neither strength nor toughness, but as raw immaturity. He praised Itauma's discipline, contrasting it with Dubois' inability to keep his composure. What should have been
in the face towards the eye.
In the ear as well.
People have to realise that I've got 2 scratched eyeballs, and the eyeball's the part of the body, it never heals. Yeah. So the best way to explain it is it would be like varnishing a door, and the varnish comes off, and then you've got to re-put the varnish back on. Yeah, the liquid on the eye comes off in the cornea, it gets damaged, and that's
a battle of words and mind games. Nelson said, turned into a circus act, one that left Dubois looking small. Trainer Dave Caldwell echoed that sentiment. He admitted that banter, verbal jabs, and even pushing emotional buttons are part of boxing's theater. Fighters are meant to test each other's nerves, but when physical lines are crossed...
This fight's just gone took another toll.
It's absolutely grabbed the public interest now to another level, isn't it?
This is, quite simply, the biggest fight this country's ever seen.
It's going to be huge.
There's 135,000 people on the waiting list.
Yeah, Eddie Hearns tweeted.
Outside the ring, it changes the game completely. To Caldwell, Dubois' slap was evidence that he couldn't handle the psychological heat. Moses, on the other hand, showed dignity, while Dubois let the moment reduce him. Former world champion Tony Bellew raised the most serious concern of all. Beyond the embarrassment, he pointed out the danger. A slap that close to the eye, he explained, could have caused real and lasting damage. Reckless actions like that risk permanent injury, and Bellew stressed that they show a lack of control at the elite level. Eddie Hearn echoed those thoughts online, adding to the chorus of criticism. Together, their words underlined the same point: Dubois wasn't thinking like a professional. He was reacting like a man cracking under the pressure. Ironically, his meltdown has only made the fight bigger. What was already a highly anticipated showdown now carries even more raw emotion. Dubois' slap didn't rattle Moses, it elevated...
I've been boxing since I was 9 years old. I've been boxing more than half my life, so it might seem like it's been overnight.
Him. The young contender now appears as the calm professional figure, while Dubois has been cast as the reckless aggressor. The contrast could not be starker. Itauma's composure is no accident. He stands on a foundation built over 11 years of relentless training starting from childhood. His rise has never been about shortcuts, hype, or luck. It's been fueled by obsession, sacrifice, and discipline. That calmness he displayed in the middle of chaos reflected the grounding of a fighter raised for greatness. By comparison, Dubois' biggest statement in the entire build-up wasn't confidence in his words or dominance in training. It was a slap. An act of panic, not power. Like a frustrated schoolboy who couldn't find the right words, he lashed out. Veteran commentator Adam Smith captured it bluntly. A head-to-head is about psychological warfare, about testing nerves. Dubois, Smith said, didn't look like a lion. He looked exposed. Instead of intimidating Itauma, he embarrassed himself and...
Do we condone it? I mean, in boxing terms, should that happen at a head-to-head? Of course not, but these things do happen. This is the fight business, and it's just made it even bigger, and we wait to see what...
handed his opponent the mental edge, and that is where the contrast has become so vivid. Dubois, the older and more experienced man, came across as insecure. Itauma, still only 20, looked measured, mature, and unshakably focused. Fans aren't circling the date to watch Dubois dominate. They're eager to watch him humbled. Boxing writer Adeola pushed the point further. He wondered what might have happened if promoters had staged another face-to-face after that press conference. His belief? Dubois wouldn't have lasted. In heavyweight boxing, presence matters, and Itauma exudes it. He doesn't need to roar, rant, or resort to theatrics. His silence, his composure, and that icy stare are weapons in themselves. Dubois, by contrast, hides behind outbursts because he lacks the aura, and when the spotlight burns brightest, he cracks. That slap may have been the clearest sign yet. Media day.
Days like the media day, we're doing a bit of face-offs. Obviously, they're not doing a face-off with each other, which is a shame.
Day was supposed to be routine. Cameras flashing, interviews flowing, and fighters posing. Instead, it became another chapter in the unraveling of Daniel Dubois. There was no face-off with Moses Itauma this time, which was a shame, because everyone knew the result would have been the same as before. Dubois unable to withstand Itauma's silent intimidation. On media day, the gulf between the two men became clearer than ever. Itauma didn't need to raise his voice, pound his chest, or play to the crowd. His composure spoke louder than Dubois' slap ever could. Fans, pundits, and analysts all saw it. One fighter carried himself like a professional. The other looked like a pretender. And the question now hangs heavier than ever. If Dubois can't even handle the pressure of a press conference, how is he supposed to handle the actual fight? Former world champion Duke McKenzie voiced what many were already...
Need to do it.
No, I think that was all him.
Of course it was. What was amazing about it, right, is his sleight of hand, because when they stood next to each other, or in front of each other on the stage, he's empty-handed. So I'm looking at it like from a magician's perspective, thinking, where's the head come from?
Yeah.
But just before...
already thinking. Dubois, he said, was completely out of order. Being a heavyweight, McKenzie explained, doesn't mean you act like a spoiled child. It means you carry responsibility, that you set the tone for the division. In his view, Dubois failed that test miserably. The slap wasn't a show of strength, it was weakness. It wasn't dominance, it was desperation. The irony is almost cruel. Dubois is supposed to be the seasoned man here. He's fought under the lights, tasted both victory and bitter defeat, and had every opportunity to grow. Yet, in front of the cameras, it was the younger, less experienced fighter who looked like the veteran. Moses Itauma stood cool, unfazed, and disciplined. That kind of mental strength, McKenzie argued, is what separates champions from pretenders. And in that moment, Dubois showed exactly which side of the line he belongs on. Promoter Eddie Hearn couldn't hide his shock either. His reaction was tight.
That's where I was sort of like, bits were flying, you know, and like, listen, I think the world we live in today, it'll go viral, people will think it's quite amusing, but I'll just tell you one thing, in the fight game, everything changes now about this fight. Like, you don't want to be backstage right.
Telling he thought something had smashed when the slap landed. That's how chaotic the scene appeared. And in today's world of instant clips and viral moments, the slap exploded online. It became a meme, a headline, a talking point across social media. But attention should never be mistaken for respect. This wasn't one of those legendary stare-downs etched into the sport's history. It was a meltdown, a fighter exposing himself as rattled and out of control. Still, Hearn acknowledged one undeniable fact: the narrative has changed. This fight is no longer just about talent and skill. It's become a story of composure versus collapse. Itauma, calm and collected, now carries himself like a star in the making. Dubois, meanwhile, has slipped into the role of desperate villain. The hype is bigger, but it's hype built on Dubois' downfall. Former world champion Amir Khan also weighed in, offering a perspective few can match. Having lived through the pressures of being rushed into big fights at a young age, Khan knows...
You want to rush him. You want to take it easy. You want to take it slow. Don't rush him. Let him enjoy. He's still 20 years old. Let him get to 22, 23 years old, and that's then you start putting him in with the top names in boxing, like the Usyks and like the Wilders or even the Joshuas and the Furies. At the moment, I think you should keep on building him.
Knows the dangers of moving too fast. His advice to Itauma was simple: take your time. At just 20 years old, Moses doesn't need shortcuts or stunts. He has already displayed maturity and composure that Dubois hasn't managed even with years of experience. Khan reminded fans that true greatness comes from patience, steady growth, and discipline, not desperate outbursts. The contrast couldn't be sharper. At a similar point in his career, Dubois had already built a reputation for cracking under pressure. Whether it was taking a knee against Joe Joyce or lashing out during a press event, the pattern has always been the same. When the going gets tough, Dubois unravels. Itauma, by contrast, has the chance to carve out a different path. He can build slowly, keep learning, and prove himself not with antics but with performances inside the ring. That's the bigger picture. Moses Itauma represents patience, humility, and hunger. Dubois represents shortcuts, mistakes, and insecurity. This fight, at its heart, is no longer just about punches and knockouts. It's about pride, composure, and mental toughness. Itauma has carried himself like a champion in the making, showing maturity well beyond his years. Dubois, with one reckless slap, revealed himself as fragile under pressure. If Moses wins, he cements himself as the face of the next heavyweight generation, the young lion ready to join conversations alongside Usyk and Joshua. If Dubois somehow pulls off the upset, it still won't erase what fans and pundits already believe: he's a fighter who cracks when rattled, a man who lashes out instead of holding his nerve. The difference between the two men has never been clearer. One fights with purpose, the other fights with panic. The stage is set, the world is watching, and the question is sharp as ever: are you backing the calm and collected Moses Itauma, the man built for history?